Stay tuned. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to show you one of the most powerful and low-cost advertising techniques that you could ever do that will give you great results and give you an advantage over your competitors. Hi, it's Mark Young from Jekyll and Hyde Advertising with another one of our little instructional or informational videos. So what I want to cover today is paid search. Does your product, does your service, does your company need a paid search strategy? Now, oftentimes we hear from people, no, we don't really need that because if you type our name into Google, we come up number one. That's great. I'm glad that's happening, but that doesn't get rid of the need for the paid search strategy. So let me explain some of this to you. First off, in America and many other parts of the world, when people watch TV today or when they do many activities, they do it with multiple screens. Almost 80% of people who watch television with a second or a third screen. They've got a smartphone, iPad, computer, something next to them. So when you're doing traditional advertising, whether it's radio, whether it's television, whether it's other sources, understand that many, many times people are going to see your message and say, well, that looks interesting. I'm going to see what else I can learn about it. We need to make sure that you're controlling the conversation. Now, the other thing is this. This is a mobile device, obviously, an iPhone. This is where most people do their searches today. It's not on a computer. It's right here. Think about yourself. So let's say that I have a need, and I'm going to say my need is, I got toenail fungus. I don't actually have toenail fungus, but let's say I've got toenail fungus. So I go to my phone and I'm like, all right, over-the-counter OTC toenail fungus. And I'm looking for a product. Well, the first thing that happens is, since I'm on here, the people who are organically number one aren't going to come up number one. Even if I typed in your brand name, you're not going to come up number one. Why? Because all the paid ads, the 3 to 4 paid ads at the top, are going to completely fill my screen. So is a retailer buying it? Is a competitor buying it? I don't even know you're there. And I'm not likely to keep scrolling down. Now, another thing I want you to keep in mind when you're looking at paid search, people are really focused on, what's it costing me per click? Oh my goodness, that's 50 cents for a click. Forget about worrying about click cost, because what we have to worry about is impressions. When you come up number one on this device, you have 150% advantage at the planogram from a name recognition. And understand, most people will go to a search engine and they will say toenail fungus treatment. They'll see 3 brands. They'll click none of them. They'll just read the ad and go to Walmart. Say, oh, okay, yeah, I know that. I'm going to look at these 2. And they'll go there and they'll look at those 2 boxes. They'll pick those 2 up and they'll look at it. So it's not just about the click. But when it is the click, we want you to control the conversation. Now I'm going to go back to my toenail fungus thing for a minute. This number right here, 9,848,467. That's the number of times that someone went to a search engine in 2017 and typed in some variation of toenail fungus. Could have been treatment, could have been cure, could have been OTC, could have been topical, it could have been pills. But that's almost 10 million people. Now, when you're looking at this strategy, when you're advertising, what are you doing? You're running ads hoping your ad will fall on someone who has your need. So let's say that your need on any given moment is 1 out of 3,000 people. So you go and you run an ad, and for every 3,000 people that see your ad, one of those people needs your product, and that's the person that you can get their attention. This is 9,848,000 people, which is 100% accurate that they need your attention, that they need your product. These people have already taken the time to go to a computer, an iPhone, whatever the case is, and they're raising their hand and they're saying, hey, over here, I've got this problem with toenail fungus, arthritis, whatever the case is, and I need something. So we cannot afford to miss these people. This is not an add-on to your ad campaign. This is the base of your ad campaign. One of the things that we really need to grasp today, in this era that we're in, is that there is no such thing as the magic bullet. Now, are there some ad sources that produce better than others? Sure. Is television more powerful than radio? Yeah, in most cases, not always. Is print still powerful? Yes, it can be, but we have to have the perfect storm. We have to have the slot machine with 8 reels on it, and we need to make them all come up with the cherries every time if we're going to get this ad campaign to go right. So we need all these pieces. This is a very inexpensive part of your ad campaign. For most clients, it's a fraction of their budget, but it produces big results. And what we're after with any ad campaign is that all the pieces together support each other, that they all work together, and that overall, your ad budget performs at a profitable level for you. So we need all these pieces. So let's run through real quick these 3 words here. We have intent, consideration, and conquest. Intent is pretty obvious. Intent is your product, your service, whatever it is you do, the brand name, product name. What do I do? My product is called XYZ. People go to a search engine, grab the device, they type in XYZ product. We need you to come up number 1. Now, just as we said, even if you're coming up number 1 organically, you're not on that mobile device. Maybe Walgreens is coming up for you. Maybe a competitor is coming up instead of you. We need you to be there. Remember, 150% advantage at the planogram. Second one, consideration. Consideration isn't, and by the way, I'm going to go back to intent for a minute. Keep in mind, when we're doing intent, people have saw your TV commercial, heard your radio spot, they went and typed it in. They didn't type it in the way you wanted them to. Maybe they misspelled your name. Maybe the name of your company is a little complicated. Maybe they didn't quite hear it right. Maybe you ran on Sirius XM and they typed in the toenail fungus product I just heard on Sirius XM, because that is how people use search engines. So we need to make sure we've covered every possible way that they can find you. You just spent money to get their attention, and now they're going to find you. Let's make sure they find you and not somebody else. Now, consideration is people that need the deliverable. So do we treat something? Do we accomplish something? What is the thing we do? So I'm going to go back to my toenail fungus. These are people who probably don't know the brand of my toenail fungus product, but they have a toenail fungus problem. So they go and they type that in. Well, those people are raising their hands saying, hey, over here, I have a problem. We need to make sure they know we exist. So when they get this device and they type that in and they see 3 names that come up, we want to make sure we're one of those 3 names. Why? Because we're going to have 150% name recognition advantage at the planogram when I go to the store. The last one is called conquest. Conquest is the least important, so think of these as order of importance. It's the least important of the 3, but one of the most important for us to monitor. And what I mean by that is, there's a very good chance that you have a competitor who is out buying your product. So your company is called the ABC product. The XYZ product goes and buys the name ABC product. So someone hears your radio commercial, ABC. Let's go look at ABC. And they type it in, and now what comes up is an ad that says, get XYZ product because we're 120% stronger than ABC product, or whatever the case is. And all of a sudden, you spent the money to bring them to that mobile device, to get them to go look for you, and somebody else comes along and says, nah, don't buy them, buy my product. So we need to make sure that no one is conquesting you and that we keep you on top. This is the other reason why we have to do paid search, because remember, even if you're number 1 organically, you cannot get on top of a paid ad and you don't see organic results on your mobile device. Very rarely. So we have to keep you on top. Now, we may also want to go conquest someone else. So let's say, and I'll give you a really good example. A great example would be, let's say that you're in a category where there's a category killer in it, where there's a particular brand that has 40, 50, 60% market share. You want to go conquest them because they're getting all the traffic. So let's say it's Tide detergent and you make ABC detergent. Well, nobody knows who ABC detergent is. but lots of people know Tide. So this is a great example of where you can go get a number one and say, ABC detergent is environmentally friendly, it's safer for your clothes, it's whatever the case is. And people say, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. I was looking for Tide, but this looks also kind of like an interesting brand. Maybe I'll look at that when I get to the store. Now, all of these strategies, as I said, they're a small amount of your budget. And the beauty of them is because it's a digital environment, we're able to measure everything. So we're in this constant state of optimization. So understand that when you do this, this is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. We're building out these lists of words. Sometimes a brand might have believe it or not, a list of keywords and a list of key phrases that can be 700-800 lines deep. And we're measuring how do these get clicked? How many times did they were they presented? How many impressions? Did people click them? How long did they go to your website and stay there? And as we look at these, we're constantly optimizing them. And what we do is we get rid of the words that don't seem to perform, and we move more of the weight toward the words that are seeming to perform for you. So it's a constant process. It's always going to be changing. It's always going to be optimizing so that we get the most for the money. So just a quick recap. Paid search is critical for your product or service. Remember, millions of people are out looking for whatever it is you do or offer. Remember that most of those searches are done on a mobile device, just like this. And when you look at this, the only thing you see, we're back to our toenail fungus, is paid ads. So you need to be on top. Other people are buying your brand. You need to be there. And remember, for you retail products, 150% advantage in name recognition at the planogram. That's it for today on paid search. It's a really big subject. There's a lot more to it. But this was just a quick recap of it. If you have more questions, I want you to feel free to call any of the account executives at Jekyll and Hyde, or talk to any of our paid search people in digital, or feel free to get a hold of me. That's it for today's video, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch.